Don't worry, you're fabulous. You'll figure it out. Welcome to the next episode of Shop Talk, y'all. That is the title of today's episode. Don't worry, you're fabulous. You'll figure it out. That is something that somebody told me at a gig a couple years ago. One of the most stressful gigs I've ever done. And it's something that sticks with me to this day. And I actually told a friend of mine this story over the weekend. So I thought on this crappy Monday morning, the week before Christmas, in the year of our Lord 2023, I would tell you guys this story while I'm working on a power distro. Which, check this out. I'm actually going to build this on camera for you guys. Customer ordered too. I sort of like to, in those kind of situations, I like to build one just to make sure that I kind of sort of know what I'm doing before you guys roast me. So just remember, for the comments section that I get roasted about, that's the second attempt in a lot of times. This one's going to be pretty cool, though. We're using, these are L515s on this distro, customer request. If you missed the video on the L515 to Edison adapter cable, check that out somewhere up there. Housekeeping, it's per normal. This is how we're going to start the today's meeting minutes. If you guys do feel like you want to support the channel any more than obviously just watching, which I do very much appreciate, you could buy some LM swag. I always have this jacket on, the Sherpa hoodie, or look at me, I'm cool guy backwards hat guy today. Get my LM hat. You can buy all of those things online from our web store, lmcasesonline.com, if you want to just directly or indirectly support me. There's connectors, and you don't have to buy cases, but if you're building panels and stuff like this, I try to keep a lot of our inventory things online that we have a lot of, just to help me turn inventory, if I could be completely honest with you. But if you want to buy connectors and stuff like that, help me out. There's an Amazon store too, because could you be an actual YouTuber without having an Amazon store? So there's that description, or check the description for all those links. Okay, anyway, sorry, on to the story. A couple of years ago, there was a guy that hired me to mix a show that he had written. I got recommended from a friend of mine to be the sound engineer, and during this time, the person that I'm talking about had a very popular role on a TV show at that particular time. And, I had watched the show as a fan. It was kind of cool to get the call to get the mix or to get the job. And he was basically looking to put this show together. And he was using in-town talent, and it had to be on a Monday, so that these people who were theatrical actors, they weren't in shows at that time, without giving too much away. And so it was cool. So we did 2 site visits, and he actually wanted to do this gig at his church, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we went and did a site visit to this church. And it was, hilariously enough, a Catholic church. So, and the reason why that's funny is that, Catholic churches are not necessarily known for their in-house tech. When I was a kid, I played in the contemporary band, and the big thing was they had a digital organ, and they could so the regular organist would play the piano, and her husband would play synth lines on the organ. That was really hip. But I mean, nothing was mic'd. There was no lighting or anything like that. It was just bare bones, Catholic church, minimal production kind of thing. Not like, mega church kind of stuff now. So I go in to do the site visit, and actually, ironically enough, they had a digital console in there with a PA system, and they did have actual music beyond the organ. They had it was cool because the organ, they had a pipe organ, and then they also had a Leslie. So they had a I can't remember if it was a B or not, but it was an organ with a Leslie in there, which was cool. And they had a drum kit and all that kind of stuff. And they actually paid a sound engineer to mix the service every week. So that was like a normal church gig. I mean, again, to me that is still kind of foreign because, again, growing up in the Midwest, the Catholic Church just wasn't that hip. So we did the site visit, and they had these teeny tiny little point source speakers meant to amplify the lav mic on the priest. So I told the guy, I'm like, well, we can do it here. It's not that this is a problem, but we would have to bring a PA in. We really can't be using the church PA. And the first thing I asked him was, how do you want to mic this? Because knowing Broadway, they hate handheld microphones, and so much so that when I worked at a Broadway club, it was the bone of contention with every director, because as we all know, talking into a microphone is like this. Well, on Broadway, if you're using a handheld microphone, they want it to be down here like this because your face has to be exposed and your hands have to be free to emote and all that other kind of stuff, which I totally get. No problem. As a sound engineer, it drives me crazy, but oftentimes it is not about what it sounds like. It is more often about what it looks like. So, knowing that world, that was the first thing I asked him was, how do you want to mic this? Sorry, cutting wire. So he said, we have to use lavs. I don't want any... I hate the way handheld mics look. I don't want that look. It looks terrible, blah, 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 blah. We have to use lavs. So I told him, like, okay, if you want to do that, you need to absolutely bring a PA system in, because the way that it worked was there was the altar, and then behind the altar was the PA system. So not only having an inadequate PA to amplify, well, anything. I mean, it was meant for spoken word. It wasn't really designed for music. How they had like a praise band in there, I don't really understand how that worked. But, I had just said, we have to bring this in. So the rental company that they chose to bring in music stands and, some of the backline stuff, because, the band was like drummer, piano player, who's the music director was the pianist. There was a drummer. There was keys 2. So in, Broadway land, keys 2 is like, secondary keyboard parts, sound effects, that kind of thing. Bass, guitar, and I think they probably had a couple of reeds, pretty standard Broadway pit, kind of thing. So I told him, I'm like, the only way that we're going to do that this is going to work is if you bring a PA system in. And he's like, well, we really don't have the budget for the PA. What do you think? I'm like, okay, with the rental company that they used, I knew the rental company. I'm like, okay, just have them get you 2 powered speakers on a stick. We'll put all the vocals through that, and we'll put all the instrumentation for everything else through the house PA. So at least we can get the vocals. We can get the vocals set up as. We can get the vocals set up, as their own PA. They can make sure that they're in front, or the people are singing or behind the PA. That's gonna help us. I said, but I can't guarantee that lavs are going to work. You know, I'm like, you're asking for a lot. You know, the monitoring situation is going to be very limited about what we can put in their wedges. You know, it would just be a lot better for everybody involved if they used handheld mics. And his line, where every time that I suggested anything that was technically relevant but wasn't what he wanted, was, don't worry, you're fabulous. You'll figure it out. And, like, the first time, it's like, you know, I think I am fabulous, and I think I am smart enough to figure it out. But one of the lines I use all the time is you can't defy the laws of physics. Hang on, I gotta cut my wire. So I brought up the idea of the monitors. I'm like, you know, monitoring is going to be very difficult in this way. You know, he goes, these are professional singers. They're not going to need monitors. I know. I'm like, I told him, I'm like, I just have never found that to be true. You know, the first thing that any singer does when they go on stage is say, can I have more of me in my monitor, before they even hear it. You know, hi, I'm Billy. Nice to meet you. I'll be your sound engineer today. Hi, very nice to meet you. I'm X singer. Can I have more of myself in my monitors? So usually my move when I'm dealing with wedges, which I actually haven't done in a long time, but my move with wedges would always be to make them so unbelievably loud and wrung out that anytime a singer would walk up to the mic, they would be stunned with the amount of vocal that they have. And more often than not, they would either be completely fine with the level, or, you know, they would just be like, you know, oh my God, I've never had monitors this good, or whatever. But sometimes people would be like, can I have more of myself in my monitor? And I would always just kind of snicker. I'm just like, oh, you just say that. You don't actually need that. You're just saying it. There's no way that you need more of yourself. Like, it's crushingly loud. But anyway, different story. Perhaps another video. So, you know, we deal with that. And I told him, so the other thing was, they had one of the most interesting consoles I've ever worked on, the Allen & Heath iLive T80. That, for those of you who aren't familiar, there was a period of time in 2000, I don't know, maybe 2007, 2008, which doesn't really seem like it's that long ago, but kind of was forever ago, when digital consoles started to really be popular. Because for a while, if you guys remember, there were digital consoles like the O1V. Everything was kind of small like that. That's where digital consoles really started. You know, you think about it, the PM1D didn't come out until 2001. Like that, you know, you think that console is ancient now. I mean, it didn't come out until 2001. You know, so all those kind of digital consoles were the little guys that were used in like corporate kind of things, but front of house still largely was covered by analog consoles. You know, my Midas console is a 2000. That's what year that guy is. So there was this time in 2007, 2008 where, you know, it was starting to be more acceptable to have digital consoles and that kind of thing. Like, you know, Yamaha really was kind of the forerunner for that. It was, you know, the M7CL, you know, that kind of mid format kind of digital desk that was out. You know, 2007, 2008, like I remember when the SC48 came out. I was at Infocom that year when the SC48 came out. You know, and that was right when Allen & Heath was going digital. And actually, at the time, LM was actually making Allen & Heath, the company that distributed Allen & Heath in America. We were building their tour cases. So at that time, it was like the ML series consoles, you know, those the larger format analog consoles, and we started doing the original iLive cases when they came out with that company. You know, and we had them in our shop. Like, I remember seeing them, you know, but it was, I just did not have enough experience at that time to really master the digital console. So, you know, especially with that one, which is a super weird one. Like, if Alan and Heath, they got in a lot of trouble with that iLive stuff because nobody spec'd it and nobody knew how to use it. So the deal with the church was they sent a sound company who put the rig in the room. They would pay an engineer every week to go and mix the show. And if they had a guest engineer, they would still pay an engineer to go in and just basically be the console tech, make sure that somebody doesn't, overwrite a show file or something like that so that they couldn't have church on Sunday, which, I mean, makes sense. I would do the same thing if I were them. Don't mess up my PA, man. I don't know who you're bringing in. So on that particular gig, I had actually hired an assistant also, because I knew that this was going to be a cluster. Like, I could just feel it that this was going to be a tough day. Just all of the conversation that I had had with the client and the music director. They were just stressed, and if you're a kind of a difficult person to deal with normally, and you're under stress, the difficulties in your, I should say the idiosyncrasies in your personality can sometimes be a bit magnified. So, and especially because this person was on TV at the time and everybody knew who he was, and it was just kind of like a thing that it was tricky. So we did 2 site visits. I had the PA company's console tech, my assistant that I hired for the day. So we did 2 site visits, and we loaded in the night before. So we loaded in at like 6 o'clock on Sunday night. We got everything like basically line checked, as wrung out as we possibly could. And we figured, okay, Monday morning we had like a 7 a.m. load in, and then we had like a 10 o'clock downbeat rehearsal. And that's when we would start tech. And then the show, the one performance of this show was at like 7 o'clock at night kind of thing. So, we get the band in, the band's fine, we do line check, we start working on monitors, and for whatever reason, as soon as the singers got there, like all hell broke loose. It was, the band started playing super loud. So, because basically with those kind of shows, like when you have like a throw and go pit kind of thing, they need as much time as possible so that they can just start reading charts down and the MD can start doing their thing, because, it's, you have to have rehearsals, and it's, most people don't have the budget to pay for rehearsals. So like when you start to get into the, the studio session kind of musicians, those are the people that are, monster readers. They don't need to have, as long as your charts are good, they don't really need to have a rehearsal. They can basically just, go in, read the show down, and call it a day. But for whatever reason, that MD was just like, I need more passion. I need, like, I just remember him saying that, like, I need more passion. You gotta dig in. And it's like, dude, why are you doing that? You're completely ruining this, everything. Like, so this fragile PA system. Oh, by the way, the speakers that they sent were Mackie SRM 450s. So I was like, yeah, back in Ohio, mixing a cover band with Mackie SRM 450s. But yeah, it was just a thing, and he just kept digging in, and I kind of, talked to him, just very politely. I just kind of went up and grabbed him. I was just like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I'm like, man, you got to get him to back down a little bit. I don't have enough PA in this room in terms of the sound system or the monitoring to, get them up over the stage volume that you guys are doing. Like, this is just, I just think if we can establish a level and stick to the level, it will make all of our lives easier throughout the day. To which I received a gentle berating of, if you didn't spec the right stuff, that's your problem, not mine. I got hired to play like we play, and this is how we play. And I'm like, okay. So it's like I already felt the vibe just die, in that room. So the singers start, and when the singers got there, as predicted, the very first things that they said were, "I need more of myself in the wedges." And I kind of just said, "This is all I can give you. I'll do my best to get you as much as I can, but there's going to be a point of no return where I can't give you any more." And that part came quickly, because as soon as the singers got more level, that made the band want more level, and it was just the vicious cycle. So we had about an hour of what I like to call the volume battle, where it was the singers not knowing their parts, not being able to hear themselves, the band not playing well because the music director is just being difficult, and the client who wrote the show, paid for everything, came up to me and is just like, "This is awful." I'm like, "I'm very sorry. I don't know what else I can do. I cannot get the band to play quieter. I cannot get the singers enough level." And again, he tells me, "You're fabulous. You'll figure it out." So this goes on for about another half an hour, and it's just not getting any better because, you know, as I'm sure that you've seen on previous videos, once you've reached all of the EQ, that's all you got. I can't do anything else. So, you know, I tried different placement. We tried moving the mics. It was just crazy. So finally, it got to the point where the client came up to me and just said, "If we use handheld mics, will this all get better?" And I said, "It will get better in 20 minutes. And he goes, "Do it." And he's like, "All right, everybody's on break." He goes, "You get 20 minutes. Great. We go in. Luckily they had the church had wireless mics, and we were able to get everything repatched, and we got it plugged in, and just like that, within 20 minutes, it was all better. And I said, "Okay, now you have to go tell the music director that he has to play quieter. That's just the only way that this is going to work." And he did, and the music director did, who he probably still hates me to this day. And the show was good. But, you know, the reason why I'm, you know, telling you guys this interesting story is that sometimes I guess you'll have clients that will flatter you in ways that, in order to get what they want, they will use flattery instead of being a hammer and, you know, forcing you to do what they want by force. They'll just be like, "Oh, well, you're amazing. I hired you because you're amazing, and you'll figure it out." But there are only so many things that you can do. God, funny story. Actually, I remember now. That gig, so the rest of the gig was fine. You know, I had a hell of a time figuring out the iLive T80. It took the console tech from the sound company who didn't know how to use the console, me and my assistant at that time, who was and still is an excellent console tech. And, you know, we all had the manual open and were reading it and learning as we went, because he just wouldn't let me bring a console in because there was no budget. So, and I didn't own a console at the time, so it was like, okay, here we go. So, two things that I asked for. I should have said at the beginning. I said, "Let me bring a console in that I know." No, that got vetoed. And, you know, "You can't use lav mics." Got vetoed. So, just like, if you just would have listened to me, man, you know, for an extra $200, we could have brought an X32 in and solved the problem. But that gig was especially hellacious because I made $700 to do that gig. That's what I charged him. Now, back in 2014 or 15, whenever we did that gig, that was like good money. Now it's like, it's nothing, but, you know, I charged him $700. Somehow, some way, the IRS filed that as that I made $70,000 on that gig. And it didn't come out until 2 years after the gig, where I got this bill that said I owed like $35,000 in back taxes. And I had to reach back out to the client, who I had not spoken to since, and deal with him and his accountants so they can get me a 1098 to show that they paid me $700 and not $70,000. And then that took me another year and a half to fight with the IRS to get that cleaned up. They were threatening to garnish my wages and all this stuff for a clerical error that was actually the IRS's fault. So sometimes when it rains, it pours. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed another tall tale from Shop Talk. I'm going to get back to this distro and check back for the distro video. Catch you guys later. See ya. Bye.